In France, social and political organizations rallied in several cities to reject the appointment of Michel Barnier as Prime Minister. In Argentina, authorities declared a state of disaster due to the loss of at least 12 hectares of land due to forest fires in the province of Cordoba. And in Europe, citizens demonstrated in different cities to condemn the Israeli genocide against the Palestinian people. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In France, social and political organizations rallied in several cities to reject the appointment of Michel Barnier as Prime Minister. The main anti-government protest began at 2 p.m. local time at the Place de la Bastille in Paris. Demonstrations followed the parliamentary elections in which the left-wing coalition of the New Popular Front won the majority of the seats. After these elections, Macron refused to appoint a left-wing prime minister, which is why, according to polls, 74% of French people claim that Macron ignores the will of the people. In this regard, the leftist leader and founder of France Insoumise, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, stated that the appointment of Barnier as prime minister would not have a majority support in the National Assembly. He also denounced the theft of the results of the legislative elections of July 7th. Mélenchon argued that the new Prime Minister, Barnier, has no relation to the results of the elections and his position will be promoted by the far right wing of Marine Le Pen.
No matter what nonsense you do, no matter how many hours it will last in the media, whatever happens, we will vote to censure this government in the National Assembly.
Protesters denounced that what France has today is the exact opposite of what they voted for in the last July elections.
We find ourselves today with the exact opposite of what we voted for, that is to say a prime minister coming from a consensus, implicit coalition between the National Rally Party and the majority presidential party. This is unacceptable. We have mobilized today in unity, in clarity around this clear objective. We are saying that Emmanuel Macron must bend to the popular vote. He must accept the sanction from the voters. Today there is only one solution, and that is to name the new Popular Front to the Prime Minister's post. We have to get out of this situation that goes against fundamental democratic principles.
Citizens rallied and called to organize coordinated actions that can put pressure on the government to achieve the necessary reforms.
Democratic, and I think voting is not enough, and I think that's why people are in the street today, but I think we need to go further. The same way we saw with the pension reform and other struggles, we need to start organizing from below, including like in our communities, in our workplaces, in schools, to actually organize coordinated actions that can put pressure on the governments to win everything we want, from the government that we need to plethoras of reforms that are necessary for everyone to be equal and live in a better society.
Moving on to other news, the U.S. Justice has decided on Friday to delay until after the presidential elections the sentence against Republican candidate for the White House, Donald Trump. The former U.S. president was found guilty in late May of falsifying business records to try to hide a payment of $130,000 to the adult film industry actress Stormy Daniels in exchange for her silence. Judge Juan Merchan of the New York State Supreme Court explained that the sentence will be read on November 26, endorsing the application of Trump's legal team, which had requested to postpone the date again for the second time. Judge Merchan stressed that the measure has been motivated mainly by the electoral process, with a view to maintaining the objectivity of the U.S. judicial system. In Argentina, authorities declared a state of disaster due to the loss of at least 12 hectares of land due to forest fires in the province of Cordoba. Cordoba's Security Minister Juan Paul Quinteros detailed that at least 4 firefighters and 12 houses were affected by the flames that swept through the region. It's also reported that more than 200 firefighters, helicopters, and 2 waterplanes are working to mitigate the 14 simultaneous outbreaks that are still active. Authorities have begun investigations to determine the causes of the fires and those responsible for them. And in Vietnam, at least 4 people were killed and 78 others injured following the Yagi typhoon which swept the northern part of the country. Meteorologists say this is the most powerful storm to hit the region in recent years. Yagi typhoon made landfall in Vietnam on Saturday with winds of up to 203 kilometers per hour. Strong winds and flying debris caused damage to buildings and vehicles, with falling trees leading to power outages in the capital, Hanoi, affecting some 830,000 households. The government activated alert systems and evacuated areas at risk of flooding. They also shut down at least 4 airports. The storm is expected to continue its transit towards the south of the Asian continent. Meanwhile, in China, 3 people were killed and another 95 injured due to Typhoon Yagi, which hit the country with winds of over 234 kilometers per hour, the second strongest tropical storm in Asia this year. The typhoon hit the provinces of Hainan, Guangdong, and Guangxi, a region with a population of 1.2 million inhabitants, where 420,000 had to be moved to shelters. At present, authorities focus on removing debris and restoring electricity to the affected areas. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Nicaragua, Vice President Rosario Murillo announced the appointment of Altrak Jansk as Minister of Foreign Affairs. The Vice President also explained that Denis Moncada, former holder of the office, will step down as Foreign Minister due to health issues and will be appointed as Minister Advisor. In an interview with a local TV channel, the new Minister of Foreign Affairs spoke about the great responsibilities and honor that comes along with the position.
My Commander Daniel and Comrade Rosario, I believe that they are the continuators of a history in the historical program. The inclusion of the peoples of the Caribbean coast is the Sandinista Front, the only one that has been able to understand and interpret the inclusion of the native peoples and Afrodescendants in the construction of the nation, in the strengthening of the national identity and the national unity. I believe that I feel proud because I am the first Afrodescendant that is only possible with the Sandinista Front.
The Foreign Affairs Minister also in the interview referred to the need of achieving a stronger Central American Union for the development of the countries in the region.
We must strengthen this Central American unity in order to see ourselves as a single people facing difficulties. You cannot divide the issues of facing difficulties. You cannot divide the issues of disaster risks, the issue of facing the environment, the issues of security, the fight against poverty. You cannot divide them, they are the same. That is, the Central American Caribbean from Belize to Panama are some of the most vulnerable regions of the planet.
Venezuela revoked the approval granted to Brazil to represent the interests of the Argentine Republic and its nationals in Venezuelan territory. In a statement, the Bolivarian Republic informed it had taken the decision to revoke immediately the approval granted to the government of the Federative Republic of Brazil to represent the interests of the Argentine Republic and its nationals in Venezuelan territory, as well as the custody of the premises of the diplomatic mission, including its assets and archives, as announced in the joint statement dated August 5, 2024. The statement added that the decision had been notified to the states concerned through diplomatic channels. The statement also further explained that Venezuela is forced to take this decision based on the evidence of the use of the diplomatic mission's facilities for the planning of terrorist activities and assassination attempts against the constitutional president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and against the Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, actions that were planned by the fugitives from Venezuelan justice who remain within it. The battle to exclude Cuba from the arbitrary U.S. list of state sponsors of terrorism adds new voices in its favor thanks to the support of notable intellectuals such as Brazilians Frei Beto and Fernando Moraes. The president of Casa de las Americas, Salvador Prieto, confirmed on Friday on his X account with a post that includes personalities such as Venezuelan writer Luis Brito Garcia, Colombian narrator and literature professor Pablo Montoya, and Mexican academic and politician Hector Diaz Polanco, following an open letter from Franco-Spanish journalist Ignacio Ramonet addressed to U.S. President Joe Biden to demand the exclusion of the Caribbean country from this dishonorable list. The prestigious Havana-based institution appeals to anyone sensitive to the suffering of the Cuban people. And Ecuador registered a massive blackout in the early hours of Saturday following a collapse in the power systems. According to the national electricity operator, the incident occurred due to a failure in the bus bar of the Molino substation, which is connected to the generation of Paute, Azuay province. In this regard, a representative of the Association of Electrical Engineers of Azuay said the blackout occurred because the system is at the limit of its capacities, so the protections were activated and subsequently a widespread power outage. The national government informed that the energy centers are at 100% of their operating capacity, which gradually re-established the service. And Brazilian President Luis Inácio da Silva assured this Friday that he will not keep in the government someone who practices harassment due to accusations made against the Minister of Human Rights and Citizenship, Silvio Almeida. Lula da Silva said that they will have to investigate properly and added that continuity in the government is not possible because the government will not do justice to its discourse to its defense of women with someone who is being accused of harassment. He continued saying that he will talk to Ministers Almeida and Aniel Franco and will make a decision afterwards. The president affirmed that although the minister will not remain in the government, the right to defense and the presumption of innocence must be allowed. We now have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Kenya, there are some 70 children still missing since Friday following a fire at a school in the central region. 10 children died in the fire. According to a police report, the fire at the hillside Endarasha Academy in Nyeri County broke out shortly after midnight on Friday, September 6, in one of the dormitories where over 150 children aged 10 to 14 were sleeping. The families of the missing children complained that they have received little information from the authorities, and they are asking for a swift investigation in order to find the children. Meanwhile, Kenyan President William Ruto has declared 3 days of mourning in honor of the deceased children, and he has pledged to mobilize all available resources to support the families of those affected. During the last hours, the Russian Defense Forces neutralized more than 280 Ukrainian military personnel and 13 armored vehicles that attempted to attack the territory of Kursk. The Ministry of Defense detailed that Russian forces halted several attempts of shelling and repulsed 2 attacks on the Kursk area. During the operation, the Kiev troops lost military equipment, and among them 3 tanks, 9 artillery pieces, missiles, and an electronic warfare station. In the course of the special military operation, the Army of Ukraine has lost more than 10,100 soldiers following attempted raids on Kursk. Meanwhile, Ukrainian troops shelled with cluster munitions a children's hospital in the town of Gorlovka, Donetsk region. The city mayor reported that the Ukrainian aggression left at least 5 people wounded, among them a child. He also reported that there was a massive shelling by Kiev forces on the center of the city, leaving at least 3 people wounded. During the last month, Ukraine intensified its unmanned aerial and drone shelling of localities in the Donbas region and the Russian border regions. Israeli forces escalate aggression against Palestinians in Gaza for the 11th month. Authorities denounced that in the last 48 hours, Israel committed 4 massacres in which at least 61 people were killed and 162 were wounded. Occupation forces targeted the Halima al-Sadiya school-turned-shelter located in Jabalia, northern Gaza. Health authorities reported 8 people killed, half of them belonging to the same family. Israeli bombardment of schools housing displaced people is a frequent occurrence and constitutes a violation of international humanitarian law. According to Palestinians sheltering at the school, the attack occurred while they were sleeping.
There are around 3,000 to 3,500 people inside this school. We were sleeping when suddenly a missile landed on us. We woke up terrified and came here. We found a number of martyrs, including children, women and men from the Kalda family.
A tent belonging to displaced people was targeted in the middle of Halima al-Sadiya school, which is a center that houses a large number of displaced families. The strikes resulted in a number of martyrs, and our crews are still searching for martyrs or injured people in the vicinity of this place.
In the Netherlands, citizens took to the streets of The Hague to denounce the Israeli genocide of the Palestinian people that started on October 7, 2023. With banners and Palestinian flags, demonstrators gathered in the capital city to condemn the crimes committed by Tel Aviv in the Gaza Strip, which amounts to almost 41,000 murders to date. Also, students gathered outside the University of Amsterdam to demand a ceasefire in the areas occupied by Israel. During these demonstrations, people also urged international organizations to back a free and independent Palestine. On Saturday, also, the people in the United Kingdom joined the 10 or so countries expressing rejection of repeated violations by the Israeli regime in the Gaza Strip. Hundreds of people marched through the capital city, London, demanding a ceasefire and the entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Demonstrators displayed banners and placards expressing support to the Palestinian people, who for over 300 consecutive days have been suffering the consequences of the Israeli occupation. And in Argentina, citizens demonstrated solidarity with the Palestinian people, demanding an end to the Israeli genocide against the population of Gaza. The Argentine Committee of Solidarity with the People of the Gaza Strip organized the Palestinian Caravan to denounce the aggressions of the Zionist troops and to demand a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. In this sense, the participants of the demonstration asked the Arab community and the Latin American countries to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. In addition, the Argentines condemned the Western attacks and censorship of social medias against any content in support of Palestine.
You can't imagine all the things that are happening there, because everything that appears on social media is 1% of what's going on. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, they block all the videos of Palestine. If you post a flag of Palestine, they tell you that this is the flag of terrorists. When we search for the terrorists' flag, they put the flag of Palestine, and they are attacking a lot in that sense. But we still continue posting so that the world knows who the real terrorists are. Although some of them already know. It is terrible what is happening in Gaza. There is bombing every minute, either from tanks or airplanes. There are more than 10 martyrs every hour. There is a house that is bombed every hour. A house with people living there. Every hour a child and his mother die.
Today we are here to condemn the genocide against the heroic Palestinian people, to continue denouncing any genocide that occurs. We are today in Argentina, before a reivindication of the genocide, where they want to change the story, which cannot happen under any circumstances. Because the Argentine justice said it had been judged. This was a genocide. There were 30,000 victims. And in this sense, we also denounce the current and previous government for having relations with Israel and allowing the company Mekorot to enter Argentine territory. We denounce colonialism and imperialism. We want a free, secular, and socialist Palestinian state.
At this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.